welcome to 15 minutes of fat burning yoga. Starting in downward facing dog, kick your right leg up high and stack that hip. Squeeze the knee in toward the left armpit and inhale, lift the leg back up. Exhale, squeeze it back in. Inhale, lift back up, stack the hip. Exhale, squeeze it in toward the left and inhale, back up again. This time, step the foot all the way through and swoop arms up for lifted lunge, counting 5 breaths here. Let's squeeze the thighs together. We'll squeeze the feet together lengthwise from the front of your mat to the back of the mat and lift tall. Hands come to the mat. We step right into 3-legged dog. Now inhale, left leg high. Go ahead and stack the hip, bend the knee, gaze over to your left. And exhale, roll that knee up toward your right armpit. On the inhalation, lift back up, stack the hip, and exhale, roll the knee in nice and tight, squeeze. Inhale, lift it all the way. And exhale, squeeze, 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 empty the belly. And last one, lift it nice and high. And this time, step all the way through. Lift the arms up. Find your lifted lunge. Powerful chest breaths here. Powerful legs like tree trunks. Let your torso just lift up and out. Take 5 full satisfying breaths. And then eventually take hands to the ground, stepping in to 3-legged downward dog. Coming through a Vinyasa now, move to Chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog, or any variation of Vinyasa you're working on. And then in downward dog, we'll soften the knees, gaze forward, and we'll hop for a squat, so feet just outside the hands. Let the sits bones be heavy. Take hands into the heart center, elbows helping the knees good and wide. Try to get the spine almost vertical and create space for the heart. Taking hands to the ground, let's heel toe, hips distance apart, and we'll practice Cobra here, or Bakasana. If you're familiar with Cobra or Bakasana, go for 5 to 8 breaths, squeezing the heels close to the sitting bones, even trying to lengthen the arms, lift the gaze. If you're unfamiliar, you can check out my video how to do crow pose, and I have 3 different ways of getting in. Eventually, let's find Vinyasa or step right into downward facing dog. Now, hopefully, heart is beginning to pump. Let's keep it going. If you need a rest, of course, take child's pose. Let's kick the right leg forward and roll into warrior 2. And then inhale for reverse warrior. Exhale, variation of side angle. Inhale, back up. Exhale, another variation of side angle. You could keep the forearm on the thigh, or you can take your hand all the way down to floor or block. So keep it moving. Inhale up, exhale down. And the last one, inhale all the way up. Exhale back down, extended side angle pose, setting 5 breaths here. And wherever you are, twisting the heart up toward the ceiling, really opening up through this left shoulder. And we'll transition for half moon posture, sliding the right hand forward underneath your right shoulder onto the floor or block. Take the left arm up, left leg up, left foot gets flexed. Keep rolling the hip, the left hip up, tucking the right hip underneath. And then we'll slowly roll out, stepping into triangle pose. Take this right hand where it likes to go, shin, ankle, floor, or block. And then, if you still have it in you, make it a core-supported pose. Lift the arms up, make the palms parallel like you're holding a beach ball, and send 5 breaths right through you. Coming back to warrior 2, windmill arms down, and step through Vinyasa any way you like, meeting in downward facing dog. In downward facing dog, step the left foot forward. Roll all the way up into warrior 2. And then inhale, reach back for peaceful warrior. Exhale, side angle, any variation of your choosing. Inhale, back up, peaceful warrior. Exhale, side angle pose. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, side angle. And a last one, inhale, reach all the way up, inhale, and exhale, set up a side angle pose of your choosing, and go for 5 breaths or so while you're in it. Spin the heart up toward the ceiling, open that right shoulder up. Find this one long line from your leg to your arm. Going for openness and ease. Shifting into half moon now. Take your hand to the floor or block, get the right leg parallel to the ground. Really flex that foot. Maybe you can lift it even higher than parallel. Create space here in your chest. You're trying to stack the shoulders, pull them apart a little bit. To soften, we'll land in triangle pose. Left hand to shin, ankle, floor, or block. Right arm reaches up to the ceiling. If you'd like to, make it a core supported pose, really burning through the core now, burning in the abdomen, keeping the breath moving, the heartbeat up right into that fat burning zone. And we'll settle into warrior two, just to windmill arms all the way down, stepping through an optional vinyasa, or step right into downward dog if that suits you better. More fat burning. Let's get the right leg up and squeeze that knee in toward the face. Again, inhale up, exhale, squeeze it in toward the face. Inhale, leg lifts. Exhale, squeeze it, and then rock onto the right side for Vashisthasana variation, side plank. I'm kicking the right leg parallel to the ground. It's totally extended. If you need to keep the knee bent, that's absolutely fine. Keep the hips lifting and moving forward. And keep the same foot up and rock onto left side plank, possibly extending this right leg, kicking it, or staying bent. And we'll step back behind and find a wild thing. Get in as deeply as you're able. Feel the relief, the lovely stretch in this. Back bending, also stretching hip flexors, iliopsoas muscles. Roll back through a vinyasa. Take it any way you like to. And we'll meet in downward facing dog. Kicking left leg high. Exhale, squeeze that knee in toward the face. Inhale, lift it high. And exhale, squeeze. Again, inhale, lift high. Exhale, squeeze it in, and then rock on the left side for left side plank. Extending the left leg, possibly totally straightening it, lifting hips even higher, maybe sending them a touch forward. If you need to keep the knee bent, that's okay. Rolling onto the right side, keep the left leg lifted, possibly extending it out. Bent is all right. Power through this right shoulder, lift even higher in the hips, send them a hair forward, and then step the left leg behind the right. Lifting the hips up high, extending left arm, and finding wild thing. Love the stretch you can find there. Rolling all the way back through vinyasa in whatever way that suits you, and finding downward facing dog. From downward facing, we'll find some Shakti Kicks, so just bending the knees, gazing forward, and imagine touching your butt to an invisible wall that's kind of like in front of your fingers. It's like you're approaching handstand, but that's not what we're going for. Just the big hop, heels to butt, as high up as you're able, 6 or so times. Nice to try to do it per breath, but if you need a rest in between, absolutely give yourself that rest. Really getting the heart racing here. And then eventually step all the way forward. Flatten the back and bow into forward fold. A little rest here as we stretch the hamstrings and lengthen the spine. We'll come into a balance and fatigue the big leg muscles in a little bit. So grabbing hold of right yogi toe lock, left hand to left hip. Go ahead and pick that right leg up, maybe never even bending it. If you have to bend it, it's all right. We'll settle 5 or so breaths here, lifting as high as you're able through the chest, squaring hips, and then shifting into warrior 3. Keep your hips square, right toes point down, and we'll build some muscle in this left leg. So bend the knee, extend up, bend the knee, extend up. One more time, bend the knee, extend up. Take hands to the floor and find your standing split. Right leg lifts higher and higher and higher. I'm going to do a playful transition, just kind of hopping into a little bit of a handstand, switching legs and stepping the right foot forward. Yours doesn't have to look like that, or maybe it'll look way better than mine, but we'll come into side angle, any variation you like, including a bind. Spin the heart up toward the ceiling, go for 3 or so breaths, and then we'll shift into lizard variation. Flying the back heel, take the chest about parallel to the ground. You could stay bound, but you don't have to. You could always just take your hands to the mat. I'm going to roll the right shoulder underneath the right knee, and then try to walk the right toes forward for Kundalini 2. You can always just play with it if you're not here yet, and you can just sort of walk that right foot as far forward as you're able. Find a stretch that works for your body, or strengthening pose that works for your body. Hopping through vinyasa or meeting in downward facing dog once again. More kicks. Really getting the heart rate up here. But this time, let's spread the feet wide. And it's the same idea. Imagine your butt needs to hit some invisible wall that's in line with your fingertips. Just lift the hips up, try to get above chin line, and lower back down. Do your best. Go for 6 or so hops. And then eventually step or hop all the way to hands, bowing in for Uttanasana, letting the heart slow down briefly before we make our way back into a balance series. So important to let the heart soften for a little bit in order to build up toward the stuff that really gets your heart rate going. So we'll grab left yogi toe lock, take right hand to right hip, stand up tall, go for 4 or 5 breaths in your balance here, really aiming to lift up tall through the chest. Open the heart wide, roll the shoulders back, and then shift into warrior 3. Left leg extends behind you. Keep your hips square. Take arms where they suit you, and we'll strengthen through this right leg, bending it, standing up tall. Bend it, extend, and bend, and extend, and take hands to the mat. Left leg lifting for standing split. Just breathe into it, make progress with every breath. And then eventually you'll step the left foot forward for a lunge. I like to kick up, little scissor kick there, and make my way into side angle pose. Any variation you like, possibly binding. Go for 3 to 5 breaths. And then find lizard variation. You could always take your hands to the mat. Now you're just squaring hips down, squaring shoulders down. If you can stay bound, stay bound. Go for 3 to 5 breaths. And then take your hands to the mat, trying to tuck left shoulder underneath the left knee. Maybe you stay there. Or maybe you inch the left foot forward. If you can do that, maybe you take your chin down to the ground, like scissor kick the legs, find Kundanyasana. There's several variations possible. And then find Vinyasa, stepping right into downward facing dog, letting the heart settle here a bit. Eventually soften knees, step or hop forward all the way to sit down, and we'll hug knees in toward your chest and rock onto the back. Coming into boat position, just sit up tall, set a breath or 2, and we'll rock it again. Come all the way onto the back, grab hold of your toes, and sit up tall, and more rocking. Come all the way onto the back. Roll up this time, cross ankles, even come up onto fingertips. If that's not going to happen, maybe grab a couple blocks or phone books, lift the hips up high for a second, and keep that rolling motion happening. Rock onto your back, sit up tall, cross ankles, lift the hips up off the ground, nice and core toning posture there. Roll all the way up, lift up, extend the legs, L-seat, do it if you can, cross ankles. And we'll take left knee in, right leg out. And Janu Shirshasana variation, walking in between the legs. I'm self-adjusting, taking my left knee down to the ground, helping that left hip open. Make it quick, sit up tall, just a little hip opening there, right heel into the groin, like Janu Shirshasana, but I'm going to walk through the center of my legs instead of down the left leg. Self-adjusting, helping the right hip open. And then sitting back up. And a final challenge posture here is just Urdhva Dhanurasana. You could also take bridge or any other back bend you're working on, maybe camel. So if you're comfortable in wheel, you might even cross right ankle over the left knee. Just lift the hips up high. Take big breaths to the chest. And then switch left ankle to right thigh. And we'll settle all the way back down. Moving toward a close now, finally letting the heart release. Taking knees wide, hips relax open. Last but not least, settling into Shavasana. Having earned it, release, relax, be heavy. Stay for a minute or as many as 5 or 7. Thank you, as always, for practicing with me. Namaste.